Today I'll be speaking with Kesha Christie, who is a dynamic storyteller who brings African and Caribbean folk tales to life with energy, humor, and heart. She's known for her captivating voice and interactive style. Kesha blends movement, rhythm, and call and response to create powerful experiences that entertain, educate, and inspire. Kesha is based in the Toronto area. She continues to champion the importance of oral storytelling as a tool of connection, identity, and lifelong learning. So, welcome to another episode of PS We're Exploring. Today's exploration takes us home, back to the stories we grew up hearing in our living rooms and our verandas and under the starry Caribbean skies. I am joined this morning with an amazing, inspiring writer, storyteller, motivational speaker, Kesha Christie. Without further ado, let's get right into it. I'll allow Kesha to introduce herself.
Thank you so much for having me. You definitely got the list down, but I've had a few titles
I
to
know.
add.
Yes.
So yes, I am storytelling, motivational speaker. I'm also an author.
Yes,
Yes,
I forgot that part.
my second children's book came out last month.
Uh-huh.
And I'm also a TEDx speaker, and that's the new title, the newest title.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna say it, you're Jamaican.
Absolutely.
Well,
Raised
you're born in
Jamaican,
Canada
and raised Jamaican.
and raised Jamaica, so that is good. Now, my first question, because since we're jumping right into it,
Okay.
what inspired you to do all these things?
Fear. I was afraid of public speaking, and so I wanted to improve public speaking. And so I joined Toastmasters, and I met some amazing people, including yourself. And I thought, okay, I can do this. And throughout the program, they have storyteller module.
Yes.
And the first thing was tell a folk tale, and I'm like, but I'm Jamaican. Telling folk tales is what I do.
Yeah.
And so I told an Anansi story, and as I was telling the story, the connection with the audience was a little different, more deeper than when I told a motivational speech. I thought, oh, I could do this. And around that time, my pastor was looking for someone to speak during Black History Month.
Yes.
Black History Month. And I told him I was a storyteller. I had never told a story outside of the group at that time. And he said, oh, send me a video. So I turned on my camera, I told the story and sent it over. And he said, all right, definitely we want you to tell the story. Now, when I go to church, I sit in the back 2 rows. So I didn't realize how many people were at the service. And it quickly comes together that there are about like 300, 350 individuals in church on that day. And I was not going to be in the back. I had to be on the stage. So I had to quickly figure out, what do I do to combat my nerves and tell the story, and what do I do? And so I said, listen, you're Jamaican. What do you do to calm down? I added music. So I had an intro. I went up on the stage. I did the story, and I had an outro just in case my legs were too shaky and I didn't make it down. It looked like I was dancing. Yeah. And it turned out it was fantastic, and I got so many good compliments from it. I was like, wow, what a way to start.
Yes.
You know, if you're gonna start, might as well do it big.
Might as well do it like that. And I just get from you that Toastmasters, I have to say, bring in Toastmasters, right? It's very helpful for kids, right? What would you suggest for people who are starting out, who are afraid of public speaking?
Everyone's afraid of public speaking. Yes. 95% of people would rather die than do public speaking. But if you remember that anytime you're speaking to someone other than yourself,
Yeah.
your public speaking, it kind of
Yes.
takes the edge off,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can just focus on the way you communicate,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I mentioned, Toastmasters is wonderful. There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
youth programs.
Mm-hmm.
Any youth program where they're able to get together and share their talent, share their voice, it's important because it's not just the ability to tell, it's how you tell and how you share.
That is so good. So I think public storytelling build your confidence
Definitely.
to do. So to for the youth, you would suggest to build your confidence, storytelling is where to start, right?
Could be storytelling. Maybe you're a singer. You want to find a
Whatever.
talent, something that you love, and be willing to share that. And it
Mm-hmm.
could start with one person, then
Mm-hmm.
two, then three.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you share,
Mm-hmm.
the more you get better at your skill as well as being able to share your craft.
There's an interesting part because, of course, I did some research on you. And if you go online, you'll see a lot about
Oh, wow.
Kesha. And you talk about storytelling help with conflict, right? Conflict in the family and other things. How do you associate storytelling and conflict resolution and all those things?
On the global scale, we think of storytelling as entertainment, but it's more than entertainment. It's how we've passed on our history, our beliefs, and our traditions. And in this world today where they're erasing histories off the internet and retelling our stories, a lot of the times the only truth we have are the stories that we tell amongst each other. And the way storytelling becomes more than entertainment is that it's more than just the folk tales that we share. Those are the fun parts and the Anansi stories where we hear about the trickster. But when you really listen to the story, he's overcoming a task. He's learning, he's giving you a different way to look at it. And people are more receptive to listening when you take the characters out. When you change the human characters into animals, for example, a hawk and a chicken. Well, they're both birds, and you can't understand why the two birds can't get along. But if they were a black person and a white person, they wouldn't be able to understand the difference because they're seeing themselves. So sometimes you got to step back, and stories are a great way to do that and give you a different way of looking at things. So storytellers help you to imagine things. They provoke your thoughts to think a new thought or a different way, or just to propose another idea. And stories are very powerful in that way. And it's not just the folk tales that we tell, it's the personal and lived experiences that we share.
And so my question now to you now is, it helps the youth or anyone to identify themselves, right?
Yes.
So why is identity so crucial for young people today, especially African and Caribbean youth in the diaspora?
Because the youth in the diaspora are removed. For example, Jamaican youth. They know that they're Jamaican, but they might not necessarily be eating the food. They might not be going to carnival in that way because everything has changed to be more less traditional and more sensationalized. And so they really need the basics, the hardcore, the underlying finesse of culture to hold on to, and they digest it differently. And so those who are sharing the culture have to kind of do it differently as well. So now they can learn how to cook. If they're not learning it at home, they can find it online. They want to hear the stories that their parents grew up with, but they don't want to necessarily go and read the books. They might want to go on TikTok and get a 2-minute message.
Yes.
So they're getting their culture just very differently than we used to, where we gathered as people, we gathered in groups. They're not necessarily doing that. But now that they have that little bit of knowledge, it's important to live it. And you can't live it if you're not in community, if you're not in group. And the art of storytelling, or the ability to share your experiences, now you share something that you've lived through. Now you're meeting 3 other people who've had similar experiences. And then somebody throws in a proverb that no one ever knew the meaning of, every mickle make a muggle. Or my mom used to say, puss and dog don't have same luck. Well, You say that to a young person now, and they're just like, "What did you say?" But then in community, where now they're sharing the lived experiences, they now know that Susie and John, both of them won't win the lottery. Oh, I get it now, as opposed to just leaving the proverb hanging. So having that identity gives you something to hold on to. You're not just Black. You're now have an identity. You're Jamaican, you're African, you're Caribbean in some form, and that pride changes how you show up in the world.
That was going to be my next question. How does stories help children to feel proud of where they're from? And the stories, all right?
It gives them something to hold on to. It gives them a pride. But the stories help you learn how to communicate as well, because you're using expressive language and you're seeing it against the backdrop of maybe some action, or you're imagining what the scene looks like, what it would feel like to be in that space. So you're learning how to communicate. You're learning different ways of communication, and it all happens in the safe space called story time, right?
And the good thing about it, it's not for our community, because teachers can learn from these things if they want to help and better understand the youth, right? Especially the Black youth. And there are people across the world who can see what you do and can learn things about our culture. I know you probably said some of these, right? But how do you see the youth, how they live and reflect the stories around you? Or you have any what do you say, feel good stories of helping some youth to understand the culture better?
Oh, yes. For example, when I go into schools, I specifically wear Rasta colors, or I'll wear Jamaican colors specifically. Mostly Rasta colors because it's more encompassing.
Yeah.
But I will wear the big dresses. I would wear all the colors. And when you step into the school, they know you're coming. You know what I mean? When the kids see you in the hallway, they're like, "Wait a minute, are you Jamaican?"
Yes.
And I remember telling a little girl, "Yeah, I am." She's like, "I'm Jamaican too." And even the children who are not necessarily Black, or I've had a young boy come up to me, and he was Asian, and he's like, "I've been to Jamaica," and I was like, "Yeah." I said, "What's your favorite food?" I think it was the jerk chicken, but it was hot though. And so you can have these conversations because children nowadays are traveling more than before.
Yes.
And so it's nice to be able to connect them. This is your experience, but this is how it shows up close to home. And some of them didn't know. And I do a little thing where we do call and response. Sometimes I do a folk song, and I'll say, if you've never spoke patois today, you're gonna speak it, before you're gonna speak it today, and then I teach them how to say it, and I'm like, nope, your face has to say it too, and so they're laughing, but they get it, and they go from sounding, wagwan to wagwan. They get it because we've taken them from this is what you think it is, but this is how it actually sounds. And later on, they're getting a little piece that they can carry. Now they're going to share that with their families. So when I walk into spaces, I make that not just to show up and tell stories, but to make it a whole experience. And people remember the experience more than what you've said. So if we can keep creating these experiences, then our young people have so much more to feel and hold on to beyond a screen.
And so some of the practical storytelling activities that families could do, and you did mention that you have books out there that they can buy, but what are some of the activities that they can do at home to build a stronger bond with their children?
Narrate your life. Tell about your day. When you're cooking or you're making, I don't know, dumpling.
Yes.
Talk about, Granny used to make it like this, and she used to do this with her hands and poke it this way, and she used to say XYZ, because they'll remember that feeling and they'll remember that warmth. And who knows, they might be able to make dumpling based on that. I remember when I first moved from home, It was my first Christmas, and I was like, I have to make black cake because that's all we do.
Yes.
And I had no idea how to make it. There was no recipe because my mom just put it in the bowl, and I just happened to be present.
Yes.
So I tried to recreate being in the room. Okay, it didn't turn out the way it was supposed to turn out, but you know, it was missing that extraness, that love, the stories, the dash, the watching my mom put in stuff that that's not on a recipe. How do you know to put that in? But she knew because that's how she learned, and now I learned, and now we are 1, 2, 3 generations. Yes. Every Christmas we bake the cake together to have that moment, and so the more you create those little moments with your young person, they'll remember it. It'll grow on them, and you don't have to wonder if they're going to share everything about their culture with their their children. It will be a natural process because you've created those spaces.
And when you mentioned she make dumpling, you realize you just roll the dumpling and stick it in the middle, because that's how we do it. And the other thing about that too is that you notice our parents don't measure anything.
No.
Everything is throw a little this and throw a little that, and it come out so good. And that's something that's so amazing that we have to follow, but we have to start measuring as we go along.
Well, we talk about the extra ingredient.
Yes, the extra ingredients. Yes. Now, I love your storytelling, and I didn't know, to be honest, that storytelling could do so many things. We just laugh back home when we sit and listen to your parents and grandparents tell stories, and they tell it all over and over and over again until you get it. But I didn't compare storytelling with discipline, emotions, cultural identity. How do you use storytelling to discipline?
Well, that's where the Duppy stories come in. Remember? Because there's always a story to keep you home, right? So when you want to go outside at night, they're telling you to watch your back and make sure you come. When you come in, you have to face outside and step in backwards because you have to see the Duppy coming, right? And so when you tell these stories, the kids nowadays are like, what? But at nighttime, I told my daughter a Duppy story. Can't remember which one, but I did tell her how you're supposed to actually walk into the house at nighttime. And so anyways, I was sitting in the living room and she was coming home after work, and I'm watching the TV. But the way the TV was set up, I could see when she came in. Yeah. She came in and she walked in the exact way I told her in the story. I couldn't help but laugh because it may not resonate in the moment, but when they reflect, it makes sense. And so you're telling the story, you're sharing what could be a lived experience. And so they're getting the entertainment, but they're also getting the lesson.
That's something I couldn't never understand, that walk back ways. So I guess the Duppy won't come because you see the Duppy. Is that what it means?
You're facing the Duppy, and so the Duppy can't just follow you in now because you're looking at it, right?
No, you create books and resources for those wanting to share their stories. Yes. Can you tell us a few of the books that you created?
Absolutely.
And they're on Amazon, I guess?
Yes.
So tell us all that, because I know people want to get to your book.
Thank you. So I have 2 books that are available on Amazon. The first one is the retelling of a folk tale. So it's called Why Tortoise Doesn't Fly. And in that book, it's a heartfelt story, and it talks about identity and being true to yourself. The second book is called Mama Kia's Garden, and this one is about a garden that grows every flower and every kind of flower, shape, size, all together in the same garden. And that's the magic of it, because certain plants have to be in the shade, some have to be in the sun in order to flourish, but all these plants flourish together. And it's really helping our children identify that they are their own unique flower and they bloom in different ways, and it's all about love. And so those are those 2 books that you can get on Amazon. I also have workshops that I do monthly where it might be a theme, it might be a storytelling technique, and I host that once a month. And I also have a longer course where I'm teaching the things that I do on stage. I didn't know what they were called. I just go out there and tell the story. But now that I know what they're called, and it helps other people, and I help them take this storytelling skills, the ability to tell a story, and translate that into business, translate that into presentation, translate it into an interview. And it's more than just the story. When you're telling the story, you're relaxed.
Yes.
And so that ability to be relaxed and shared can also transition into other things. So I'd like to help folks see the skills and be able to use them interchangeably.
Do you think our Black communities see the need for storytelling? How supportive is the Black community with this?
They are during Black History Month. They are during festivals and such. And I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations where we host sessions online for youth and for families, where I talk about the power of storytelling. It is the oldest form of communication, as well as the quickest tool to create connection and understanding. So, when you've got your teen who is facing their battles on the road, and you're facing your battles from work, how do you come? How do you connect? And it's the story that helps you connect. The story of your day, your lived experience, is just as powerful as an Anansi story, because the lesson is clear. And as you're telling the story, somehow a proverb pops up, or something that your parents said to you one time. I remember when my aunt said this, now I understand it. Because a lot of the times when we were growing up, we got the proverb but not the lesson. But when you're in an adulthood and you experience something, that same proverb comes back, because now you know the meaning. Well, you're kind of creating that connection earlier. So stories are important. Stories around family traditions, stories around how you manage stress. There's a time where children were seen and not heard. And when your parents were going through things, they didn't share. But now you're living those experiences and struggling with it, when it now creates a conversation to say, I remember when I was feeling depressed, I did X, Y, Z. Not telling you to do, but here's so now they have something to build on. And you can't build if we're all tight-lipped. No one knows what's happening. So it's that ability to share. That's the story.
And that's so interesting, because that's biblical. That's biblical, because Jesus started with stories, always tell a story. So I think you're called to do this, and you're doing a good job. Now, I partially asked that question, but do you have a success story from your workshop where that truly moved you, where you told a story and you see really somebody living that out? Or
Definitely, there are a lot of success stories in that case. There are some where grandparents will be in the audience with their grandchildren, and their conversation in the audience is, Grandma, do you know what she's talking about? Yes, I know. And they connect. And there is the times where I've been in spaces and you just see people light up differently when you've done telling the story. But I guess there are a few that stand out. A couple are in some of the youth programs that I was with. Many come, they don't know what to expect. They're like, oh, you're just going to tell stories at eye rolls. But when they realize that, I have so many teachers that will say, hey, Johnny doesn't speak at all in class. I remember one presentation was in Windsor, or was it Kitchener? And I went out to the school, and there's a young man who was like, I'm going to help you. Sure, no problem. I had him come up to the front of the room, and we were building a story. So he was helping with that part. And the teacher pulled me aside after and was like, I don't think I've ever heard him speak 5 words. And I thought, yeah, it's easy when everyone's kind of together and everyone's adding to the story. And I also bribed them with duppy stories later, but they encourage each other to participate so they can get that result. And all of even children who are like, I don't speak English, I was like, throw in anything. And they throw in something that someone over here is like, ooh. But it's creating a space where folks are comfortable to share. And I've seen where there's a young man that I've met him a few times at different events. He's seen me, and I didn't know he was a singer until recently. So he's a singer and he performs, but he recognized me, and we were having a whole conversation before he went up. And he went up and did his performance, which was phenomenal. But I could tell that he was a little bit nervous. But then I thought, wait a minute, he came to find me to help him calm his nerves. So we were talking about, random things. And I was like, wow, that's powerful to walk into a space, know how you feel, and find someone in the room to help you ground yourself.
Yeah.
And he did a great job. He had nothing to worry about, but they never realized that until you don't realize it until it's done. Right?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so good. So, is there any specific folk tale that you use to teach confidence, resilience, self-worth? Which one do you usually fall back on to teach those?
Gosh, there's not one specific story, because sometimes you have to walk into a room and the room will tell you what story to tell. To tell. So there are a few that I like to share. One of those that I share is an African story called The Lion's Whisker. And it's about a lady who becomes a part of a blended family. And her son doesn't speak to her, and how she gets him to talk. And realizing that she searched outside of herself to find what she needed when it was always inside. So I find with these stories,
powerful.
It is. I find that these stories, when we tell them in certain spaces, everyone takes what they need from the story when you tell it.
What advice would you give to someone who is struggling to do storytelling? What advice would you give to that person?
If they're struggling, sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves. And when you focus on the message, it tends to take that edge off. So you know the story that you want to tell. It could be an Anansi story, it could be a lived experience. No one can tell that story better than you do, because they didn't live it the way that you did it.
Yeah.
So even though people may have, 5 people may have gone to a movie and they've seen that movie, somebody loved it, somebody hated it, and somebody's still deciding kind of how they feel about it. So no one can tell it the way that you can tell it. And there's your audience or your listeners, they want you to win. They're not there to see you fail. They're there because they want you to win. And the more you share with that in mind, that they want me to win, I want to win, and you realize that it's the storytelling is a give and take.
Yes.
Right? You're giving the story, your audience is receiving it, but they're also giving it back to you. So depending on when you come into a room, they give an energy that changes how you share your story. So remember that they want you to win too, and it'll kind of take that edge off.
Edge off the nerve. And sometimes we research what resources. I know we talk about Toastmasters. Any other resources that you had to use to give you the confidence to?
Absolutely. I have followed other storytellers. So in Toronto, Ida Sadu, Sandra Whiting, Rita Cox, and also international. So you find close by mentors, and then you find others that still motivate you. And I listen to how they tell stories. And I take the little bits that I like and make it my own. And so Ida Sadu has a sing-songy way she tells stories. And so some of the times my character might have a sing-songy way in doing things. So you get your resources. You might have to do research of your own. There are some times where I tell a story where I literally have one sentence and I have to make the story around it. But you can do it because you know the place. I wouldn't do that with an African story, but a Caribbean story, I could make a whole story from a sentence.
Yes.
Right? Because you know the environment, you know the food, you know the values, and you can make a story around it. So you have to know where the story is coming from. You have to know kind of a little bit of background and watch other storytellers. There are things that you might keep, there are things that you might not. And by watching them, you build your own confidence as well. And I can say that I have performed with all except one of the storytellers that I had admired and I was following. And it changes. Like it'll change. One day you might like this person, one day you might like another.
Somebody,
but it adds to your repertoire. You might even hear stories that you like. But even with motivational speakers, some people like Tony Robbins, but he's a screamer.
Yes.
Some people like Les Brown because he, the way that the fluctuates in his voice. So you pick up little things when you're watching others who are in the space you want to be in. So you're always in a state of learning.
That's good. That's good to know. What was your favorite story as a child growing up?
My favorite story as a child, I might get in trouble for this. I was a very quiet kid, so I could be in multiple and different places and no one would know. So I loved sitting outside of the kitchen at my grand aunt's house because they were talking all big people business that I wasn't supposed to hear. But it was the colorful language, the way they moved, the way they touched each other, the love in the room. It was wonderful. It's like watching a TV show. It's so wonderful to see. So I can't say there were specific stories. It was what was created for us. And when I was younger, a lot of the stories that I heard were when a storyteller came into our school, or we was watching Miss Lou, or you're watching Oliver on a Sunday. And so anything that was heartwarming and made us laugh was really what I was into. And it just grew. I started writing poetry, and then it kind of just grew from there. So I don't have one favorite. I have many.
And I think some of your stories, I see you dressed like Miss Lou. That was so funny. And I'm looking at you and said, oh my goodness, I think she acts just like Miss Lou.
Well, yes, because that's a part of our history. Miss Lou brought patois to the world and made it okay for us to speak patois outside of the house. And so I try to give nod to that, but also realizing that the young people may not know who she is.
Yes.
But I give my personal connection in saying that I knew who she was, but I got to meet her.
Yes.
And I got to meet her by volunteering.
Yes.
And when I met her, she was, everyday somebody. And now that I'm looking back on it, she was dropping little nuggets and little seeds along the way that I wasn't paying attention to because I was a little shy person. But there are many times I've been on stage and I can literally hear her in my ear, and I laugh to myself because I remember, and now I'm able to share with the next generation, keeping her alive.
Yes.
And being able for our young people to find the pieces that they want to grab onto. I mean, if Canada or the UK was like Jamaica, they would know Miss Lou because we recite and create the poems and all that stuff. But it's not in that. So I try to give nod in every presentation I do.
And we can't discuss storytelling without talking about Miss Lou, Ron, or people like that. I remember once we went to a restaurant in Scarborough. There was Miss Lou. We got so excited. She was older then, and she was with her caregiver, and we all ran over to her table. The poor lady could not have her dinner. We all surrounded the table. Miss Lou, Miss Lou. Oh, she was so proud. She was so happy, even though she didn't know us, but just recognizing her for what she did for Jamaica. We all grew up with her stories. And as children growing up, that keep us, what you did say, keep us sane, keep us together, because she's always talking about togetherness. Any other favorite Jamaican storyteller you can think of? This is just off the top of my head. I can't. From Quran, Miss Lou.
Well, nowadays there's Dr. Amina Blackwood Meeks. She tells stories too. I look at Jamaicans around the world who share stories. Jan Blake, my absolute favorite. There's so many, but it's being able to hear us in the stories that they tell. And
Yes.
sometimes it's not even necessarily the language, it's the rhythm. When I listen to stories, every story has a rhythm, every story has a certain energy. But something about our Caribbean,
Yes,
it's the way their body moves, right? It's the repetition, and it's always in time. And so when I hear it, I recognize it, and I tend to gravitate to those storytellers because I know they have some type of Caribbean connection, and they always, oh, I'm from Trinidad, I'm from this. So it's like, oh, okay. But it's funny how you don't necessarily have to sound it, but it can be seen.
It can be seen. And so we're putting out a challenge to the viewers. Tell me the name of your favorite storyteller. So if we're missing anyone, we're looking for a list from you. Okay? And the other question, you mentioned a few proverbs that you have heard. I want to challenge my listeners to tell me what proverbs you grew up with. You little but you talawa. Which other one you can think of?
Oh my goodness. Every mickle make a muckle.
Yes.
We talked about puss and dog don't have same luck.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. My. There are so many.
There are so many of them. And you measure, man measure pint, but God measure quart.
Yes.
You know, that type of thing. So there are quite a few of them, and I want our listeners to put it in the comment section. What is your favorite proverb? Now, I know you're all over the internet. You can find her on the internet and follow her. Any other link that you want to share with us as we come towards the end of this?
Yes. You can find me on Instagram at talking TALKIN _tales TALES. You can also find me on TikTok, Kesha C of Talking Tales. I'm on LinkedIn under Kesha Christie. And so those are some of the other places you can find me.
Yes, and I'm sure to put them in the comment section. So if you want to follow her, you will have all the information there, and all the books and connect will be there. Anything else? Any last thing you want to tell us?
Of course.
What you have coming up?
Lots of things that are coming up. I'll be in Toronto on November the 28th and December the 19th, and I'll be a part of the Tunes and Tales presentation that they have. There's also Talking Tales 2026 coming up at the end of February, which is a huge event, community event. I have a workshop starting at the end of January. If you're interested in being a storyteller, trying to figure out how to share your story, then that's definitely something that you want to look out for, where we meet for a few weeks online and be able to do that.
All this is online.
All of it is online.
So you don't have to leave your homes, right? In the winter. All online. Anywhere in the world you are, you can just log in. So that's it. I'm so happy to be talking to you, Kesha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For keeping the culture alive. It's so important, and helping families to strengthen their bonds one story at a time. There are a lot of stories out there, and it's to strengthen our culture. It's very important for our kids to understand, where they're going in their professional life. And I'm so glad you connect stories with professional lives. So thank you so much. It's really nice to have you. Thank you so much for joining this beautiful conversation with Kesha Christie. Her passion for keeping African and Caribbean stories alive is powerful. And it reminds us that our stories matter and they deserve to be shared. If this episode touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and share. And make sure you subscribe to PS. We're exploring for more stories, culture, and conversation that connect us back to who we are. Until next time, keep exploring. Peace out.